34% of all the people in Omaha, Nebraska are unsure that they can make ends meet. They are genuinely concerned. They have financial stress. They're struggling with basics like utilities and, of course, automotive requirements. So if you are a business owner, or if you are a salesperson working for a business owner, the question is, how do we adjust appropriately for this, I want to say, recess or dampened ability to purchase our products or services? I want you to just think about this throughout this entire show right here on WowBizNE Nebraska. Thank you for joining me. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, and I'm excited to share some ideas with you that I think are powerful. These are thoughtful ideas, ideas that may impact your strategic plan, ideas that will force you to generate a new product or a new service, ideas that will force you to cut back or maybe let employees go, or go the other way and bring at least a couple other 2-3 employees onto your team because you know how badly their family needs some kind of an income. Maybe the hourly wage isn't what it should be, but nevertheless, at least they're there and they're earning something. So there's some very interesting strategic responses. And of course, there are nonprofits around Nebraska and in Omaha in particular today that are meeting and saying, what are we supposed to do for these people, if anything? What is the appropriate thing to do? What's our responsibility here as we sit here in this particular group? And so I throw that out at you again. Now, one of the key issues in Nebraska, as everybody knows this, I don't normally start off my show going down this road, but because of a big event that took place in Kearney a few days back, I thought it would be appropriate to visit from an economic development point of view. And the key issue in economic development is our inability to attract young workers. In fact, as Hank Robinson told us all back in 2019, we don't even make the cut. In other words, wherever they're at and they're looking for a job, they're looking for a company that they'd be comfortable in, something that they can afford and so on, Nebraska never comes up. I want you to think about this for a minute because we really are talking now about, the future, obviously. We want savvy, practical, pragmatic, visionary people coming into our state. We need 20,000 at minimum, and that probably is a low number. So think about this as we go throughout the entire show. Now, how do we attract them? What do we say to them? How do we support them in some way? I'm going to share 2 points of view. One of them is an economic development research piece that was taken a couple, 2-3 years ago. The other one is a portion of a newspaper, a New York Times newspaper, and it's a massive research document that's kind of laid into the newspaper format and so on. But I'd like to just mention these in contrast to some of the things that are coming out of this Nebraska-based research, and many decisions are being made by what I'm going to share with you right now about these young workers and the importance of weaving them into our manufacturing plants, our agricultural operations, our food preparation places, distribution systems. All of these things exist and need to be served and supported by these young people. So right off the bat, here's just one thing that came up. Right off the bat, in other words, how do we work with them? How do we help them? It says a high expectation that youth will opt in. A high expectation that youth will just kind of, I'll just go ahead and commit to this, etc. Well, that may be true. It may be true. Here, it says, with AI platforms becoming commonplace, creative jobs seem to evaporate. Now these young people we're talking about, have no expectations of working on a job that they like. So here we were a second ago, high expectations that youth will opt in. Here we are over here learning from some different research that they are close to kind of just like giving up. We'll go on a little bit further. Strong informal support system so that when people come in with a company, maybe a large company, they can manage it. There's different things they can do. There's procedures, people helping them, and so on and so forth. And, that sounds like an excellent idea, of course. But here, these are the same people, by the way, that believe that upward mobility is now impossible. Think about it. Upward mobility is impossible. Think if you believed that, what would you do with your career? And here's another thing. When they get hired, or somebody says, HR person says, well, who do you like? How do you think about the late Steve Jobs and Apple? I mean, what do you think about as you think about businesses? It says not any of them named a dream company they aspired to work at. None. Nobody, no aspirations at all. Okay, let's go. Early focus on career pathways. So even when they're in high school or maybe even junior high or even younger, people are teaching them, you can do this and you can do that. If you learn how to do this, then you'll be able to do this job over here and then make some money over here and so on. Talking along these lines to these young folks can get them thinking and get them focused on some things. But here's what a lot of them said, because they know that when you get to a certain amount of money, then you get prestige, you get job titles, things like that. But when you talk to today's, we'll call them Gen Z, people in their 20s, they don't even aspire to that level of work. They don't care about whether they have a job title or not, whether they have status or not. And again, they've lost the capacity. Please listen carefully to what I'm saying. The capacity to imagine a meaningful future. They've lost that. They don't have that. Now, I know that many of you will go, oh, I don't know about that. I mean, if they make some money and somebody flatters them, they'll buy into the whole thing and it'll probably be just fine, Opportunity for youth to build skills, life skills, not just working on the computer, but of course, life skills as well. But it helps to be happy, right? If you can be happy, then you can achieve other things and go on and cultivate skills. But listen to these people right here. This is studying, by the way. This is high-end research. These young adults scored low, not just on happiness, but on well-being, including meaning, purpose, and fulfilling relationships. They scored low on all of them. Now, we're not talking about just a handful of kids right now. We're talking about an entire generation. So if you're an HR person, a CEO, a manager or something, you're shaking your head right now. You're not sure if you're angry at this generation or if you feel bad. Maybe you feel bad about yourself. Maybe there isn't something that you could have been doing for these young folks that you weren't doing. And wrapping up here, creative solutions for accessing opportunities. So we all know that when you work for a large company, things happen. Maybe, for instance, somebody leaves the company for whatever reason. And, you might have those skills essentially and go to the boss and say, hey, I'd like to work over there and make a little more money and do that kind of work over there. I'm qualified to do that. That's normal. That happens all the time. All right? So that's something to keep in mind, and we all are aware. But meanwhile, those people aren't doing that anymore. See? They're not hustling. And instead of saying to themselves or to their boss, what can I achieve? Which is exactly what I was just talking about right now, slipping into a situation so that you can do better, do more, make a bigger difference, make more money, right? But what they're saying to themselves is, instead of what can I achieve, they're saying, what do I need to survive? What do I need to survive? This is what our children, or maybe children's children, depending on your age, this is where they're at, mentally and emotionally. It's an incredible situation. Business owners are either scoffing at what I'm sharing with you right now, because this research came out of the upper Midwest. It came out of the economic development organizations that exist around the state, and those are reputable people. They have good ideas and good points, and they uncover opportunities and so on, and they have conferences that people attend and discuss how are we going to get these young people to either think differently or just appeal to them the way they currently think and somehow, carve the situation that we have here in our company and make it appropriate for their existing mindset. It's an incredible thing, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I think there's a solution. It's a big solution. We're going to talk about it on the back end of the show. A lot of different things. I'm going to let you know that here's the teaser. New path, new power. Two interesting little subsets or sentences that begin with the word new. When you talk to these young people that I'm just alluding and trying to define to you, I have a feeling, I could be wrong, that they're going to warm up to this word new. But there's a lot that could come after that, and we're going to talk about that at the back end of our show, ladies and gentlemen. So, again, thank you so much for watching WowBizNE Nebraska. We've done a lot of work here. We pull out research. We have tremendous respect. When we get lucky, we try to interview some people that are very insightful and bring something new to the party. And by the way, we're going to kick that up and do more of those people, because what we want to tap into is the trends and their industry. That's what we're looking forward to. So if you know anybody that would like to have kind of an overview and discuss their trends that are happening in their particular industry or their career, send them our way, because we think that's a fascinating topic and a direction to go. Once again, my name is Lynn Hinderrocker. My company's Nebraska, and I think that you'll have a great show here if you can stick with us all the way through. We have a great promotional sponsor. I can't wait to tell you about them, and we'll do so immediately. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in 2 minutes. Well, thanks for returning to WowBizNE Nebraska. We have a very special promotional organization and promotional term and set here. It has to do with something that is exciting for a broad number of existing business owners and employees around the entire Omaha and eastern Nebraska area. It's the discovery of an organization that has been pulled together over time. Two brilliant men have collaborated with each other, and they've created something called Empowerment Breakfast Network. Let me say that again. Empowerment, I love that word. Breakfast, that's obvious. And of course, network. We know what networks are. And there are other groups around, business groups here in the Omaha area, but essentially these two gentlemen have set up a situation. There's about 50, give or take, members of this group. Some of them are sponsors, so they have the opportunity to stand up in front of everybody and talk for 2 or 3 minutes about their company. That is invaluable, by the way. You could go for a long time and have your best buddy or somebody that you know in the business or office building or whatever, and they wouldn't have a clue what really that you do. We can't let that happen. So that's what this is partially about. You join the Empowerment Breakfast Network. If you want to be a sponsor, you can do that, and it will elevate you. You can kind of be a leader of the programming and the content. You'll have the opportunity to speak to all the rest of the people who are members, and they have delicious breakfast, by the way. But if you want to really go all the way, and I want you to be aware of this, you also will have the opportunity to be a sponsor for this particular show. That's exactly right. So people are excited about that because, of course, being part of that or having somebody like myself endorse your company and try to explain your company to people, very important. The Empowerment Breakfast Network, don't forget about it. Join it. You will not regret this opportunity. We'll see you on the other side. Thanks. Welcome back to WowBizNE Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, and I have something very special and exciting to you. It's kind of the guts, I'm going to summarize, of course, but it's the guts of a document that's been created, is being handed around to people of all sorts who are trying to think ahead, not only because this is a confusing era, but because the state of Nebraska in particular has struggled with population issues, kind of flat to down, young worker attraction and development, That's definitely down. And then, of course, we have issues like tax reform, property taxes, that kind of thing. And those are always, kind of difficult to figure out what is the right number and how do you allocate those tax funds again all around the state. So this is a confusing time for Nebraskans and Nebraska business people in general. And really, I'm going to tell you the bottom line. I'm going to cut through. Let's pretend this is a cloud, a gray mass, and you can barely see me when you're looking at your video stream or whatever. I'm going to take my hand, I'm going to stick it right through the fog, shall we say, and cut to the chase, if we can, to the extent that we can. I'm going to hold up a document right now. You'll see the head of the document. It's called New Path. Love that. New Power. I love that. And I love the fact that the two of them kind of go together. There's a little bit of synchrony there. And there isn't one person in Nebraska that wouldn't say, that's interesting. Tell me what that is. I love the sound of it, but I don't know where you're going with it. This is the ideology, and this is a fairly heavy document. There's a number of pages. And I'm going to quickly just touch on the head of each one of these sheets of paper. And you'll begin to get a feel, because what this is the ideology of what Nebraska must become. Not just, by the way, to attract young people or bolster population, but to pull different kinds of people, and business people in particular, but many different kinds of people, pull them together. I'm sure you remember way back in the day when Governor Joe Hans went from Nebraska to South Carolina. He saw how 3 cities there, prominent cities, decided that they would work together on some key topical issues that neither one of them had been able to handle individually. And it was a stunning success. Governor Joe Hans took that idea, kind of the framework, brought it back to brought it back to Nebraska, tried to implement it. Didn't really work, unfortunately, but it was a fascinating try, and maybe something like that will emerge at this time. So, new paths, new power. And then I'm going to hold these words up right here, and I'm just going to really quick mention it. It says challenge hook, the personal hook, the momentum hook. Boy, don't we love that. The leadership hook and the reinvention hook. Now, I'm telling you, we got 5 great words there: leadership, reinvention. These are words that people who I barely know or don't know at all, and they will take this in, they will listen to it, and they go, well, you're talking about some important things. Let's keep going. Now, here's the assertion on top of the second page, and the assertion is business owners don't realize they are part of the problem as far as employee attractiveness is concerned. They're part of the problem. Wow. 42% say that they've got to attract more residents. They've just got to. Most of the people say, we've got to get more people here. And the 18 to 34-year-olds are the key, according to Hank Robinson. In fact, he came out and stated it. He said, well, what about all these 18 to 34-year-olds? What do you think? Come to Nebraska? Are you ready to go? Can we do this, huh? What do you mean? What do you mean we're not competitive? What are you getting at? We're not competitive. We're competitive, huh? This is what's going on in people's minds. Okay, well, the young people are not being included in social and recreational and projects and events and so on. They're not being included in that. Now, these things, this research I presented to you just a little bit ago, doesn't seem to, reflect that. So we're going up and down on who's saying what, who's demonstrating it, what's most important, and what does it really take to get these young folks here. This page right here, as you may have seen, starts out, action creates traction. One of the things that we've heard at various conferences is that we learn about opportunities, whether they're grants coming out of Washington, D.C. or various places. We have meetings, we talk about it, we're not sure. All of a sudden, Georgia's done it, Utah's done it, Colorado's got most of it, and we're looking at each other saying, well, what happened here? Huh? This is typical Nebraska. How do we turn Nebraska into Nebraska? Add one W, all of a sudden you got something going on. The very first syllable tells you right off the bat that there's opportunity for newness. It says we must build a culture that attracts, not repels, today's talent. Well, now we're getting to the bottom line, right? Huh? What if you go to a city here in Nebraska, and I'm not going to mention them, but some community here in town, and the downtown area is kind of beat up and it looks kind of tawdry, so to speak. Nobody's done anything for it. So you ask economic developers or the mayor, whatever, and you say, what's up with this? Well, Lynn, people now get on the web and they do all their buying on the web, and it just makes retail, irrelevant. So we haven't put any money into this because we see downtown as mostly a retail-oriented thing. It seems like the common sense thing to do. So then, after time, I go over here and I talk to a couple people who are on Main Street. They do have could be a bookkeeper or a CPA or a chiropractor, those kinds of people that have services, and step into their offices and tell them about what I've just said. And they are so nervous, they'll say, please shut the door, come back to my back office, shut that door. And then they confess to me that the city is not being led. There's not a future. There's not a vision. They're not taking advantage of any new trends. They're not trying to stay up to date. And this is a huge issue if you've got, younger people that you want to be working for you. All right? This is not research. This is not research. This is a reckoning. That's the word. This is a reckoning. This is a confrontation with the current reality. So we have to build the infrastructure of reinvention. Yeah. Now we're getting right down to the bottom line. So we're going to reinvent our company. We're going to reinvent our city. We're going to reinvent Fremont, Beatrice, Norfolk, York. We're going to reinvent these cities. Is that right? Is that what you're getting at? And exactly how are we going to do that? Huh? And what's the outcome? What's going to happen as a result of that? And if there are answers to all those questions, hey, time to rise, time to shine, time to go. All right? Now listen, this is a challenge. I got to read it word for word. It's so beautiful. The future cannot be built by the same 40 people who have been in every room for 20 years. Woo! We're getting to it, aren't we? Nebraska is we want it to be a curated cohort of business, civic, creative, community leaders committed to building a modern, magnetic, this is a key word now, future-ready state. Let me say that again, a modern, magnetic, future-ready state. So when somebody says, well, we put a couple months into creating this street here and making the front facade of this building over here, it looks pretty good, and we got these signs up here and so on. What do you think? Is it magnetic? It's not magnetic. It's not magnetic. It's a good thing to do, basic thing to do. Magnetic? No. We're not going to attract any young people to help us bolster our business over here and keep it going because of these things that we've done right here. What? Are you kidding? Are you kidding? We have to go way, way past all this if we plan on attracting these young people. We're not magnetic now, let me tell you. All right. Anyway, so you can see this is a serious dialogue. We must measure what matters, of course. Transparency is bold. Accountability is even bolder. So, think about that. You go, well, you can take a look here. You can see what it looks like. It's really, pretty nice. We got some greenery over there next to that street area and so on. But is it accountable? Is there accountable built into that? In other words, are people going there? Are they hanging out there? Is there more than one? Can we do 2 or 3? Whatever's working, can we multiply it? Huh? Not so much. Maybe that doesn't go so far. All right. So the next Nebraska, or version of Nebraska, will not be inherited. It will be built. Think about that, man. Inherited. Many children, inherit their parents' homes or businesses and so on. But we're talking about something different than that. We're going to move along. We have to teach business owners how to communicate with Gen Y and Gen Z employees. I did a focus group with some young folks, young professionals, sharp kids, and they said, well, they don't know how to talk to us. They just say, well, get this done by 4 o'clock. Well, we were taught at UNL that we have little collaboration meetings and we talk about the impact of this or that and whether we're going to do that or work with the boss on that. Finally, we must create an online way for a business owner to sell his company to a younger businessman or person confidentially. So succession in itself, of all these different things that should be done, succession, that's a home run, right? That goes right through the goalposts. We've got to get a succession program put in place. And so more and more companies can get sustained instead of shut the doors. And that's the end of that. I'm Lynn Hinderwalker with WowBizNE Nebraska. You can see these are powerful, big ideas that can change the whole trajectory for your family, your children, your workers, your company. Thanks for listening. I appreciate it so very much. Keep thinking about how to implement these ideas. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.